there, welcome to chapter 10 of BUSA 305 for the spring 2020 semester. Just as a reminder, your test will be this week. I'll be posting it online, and it is open book and open note. And then you will have until 11:59 p.m. on Saturday to get it into me. In chapter 10, we are going to be looking at managing products and brands. In chapter 9, we looked at new products, and now we're going to look at existing products. So we're going to start off by talking about learning objective number 1, which is about the product life cycle. Let me get myself a little bit more room here. So learning objective 1 is on the product life cycle. Now, all products are born, they live a while, and then they die. And for some products, there's a very quick time period, like a fad. It'll be like brand new, then everybody's got it, and then it dies off just as quickly as it came along. Other products may live decades or maybe even a couple centuries, but eventually all products will die. And that's something that's really hard for Americans to grasp, because we always want to sell more next year than we did last year, and we just want it to continue on and on and on forever. But there comes a time when every product is going to die. So let me show you briefly what the product life cycle is all about. In general, it's a lot like a bell-shaped curve on average. However, there are many different shapes to the product life cycle. This is just kind of your average one. And it's made up of 4 distinct time periods. So let me draw that for you. Okay, so I hope you've had time to draw this yourself. You may want to hit pause if you haven't had enough time. You'll notice that there are actually 2 curves here. The top curve is for sales, and the bottom curve is for profits. Okay. Now, the 4 areas then are going to be introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Okay. All right, so we start off in the introductory stage, and you'll notice that we don't make a profit until probably half to 2/3 of the way through the introductory stage, and that's because we have a lot of startup cost, and it may take a little while for the product to catch on too. On day 1, hopefully we'll start off with some sales though, but profits will take a little while to achieve. Now, let's talk about each one of these different areas. One of the things that's really important to remember is that you don't know the exact day and time that you're going to switch from one stage to the next stage. So for example, on average, human beings reach their peak at age 23, and then after that it's downhill. Now, you don't really notice the exact day that happens, but after a little bit of time goes by, you'll notice that you need a little more sleep, you put on pounds a little bit quicker, maybe you don't run as fast as you used to, and excuse me, and you're just not quite at your peak anymore. Now, when we look at the product life cycle, our profits, and I didn't draw this as well as I could. You all know about my drawing ability, so be sure and look at the book on this. But profits tend to be at their highest somewhere around that dividing line between growth and maturity. So you don't know when you go to bed one day that you're in growth and then you get up the next day you're in maturity. It's going to take you a little while to figure that out. Now, in the introductory stage, we just want to get people to know about our product, get the word out about it. We'll be working on our distribution, that sort of thing. In growth, it's a very exciting time. When we're in growth, our sales are at, we sell more this week than we did last week, and next week we're going to sell even more, and people are excited about the product. So we're on the up there with both sales and with profits. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Americans tend to want to think of the curve as going like this. That the sales are just going to go off, as my friend Buzz Lightyear would say, to infinity and beyond. But in reality, no, that doesn't happen. We then will go into maturity, and almost all of the products we buy in the United States are in the maturity phase. That sounds like a good test question to me. So, in maturity, that's where most of our products are, and we'll see that sales are pretty flat. Now, why are they flat? Also, I should have made this flatter here too, with the profits. What happens here is we're going to have our most competition when we're in the maturity phase. And so our competitors are going to be trying to drive the price down, steal our customers from us. And then the other thing that happens is this is a time where our competitors will add bells and whistles to the product. And I hope you know what I mean by bells and whistles. I once had a student who thought they were actual bells and actual whistles. But these are just other functions that can be added to the original product. Let me give you a quick example. I've owned two microwaves in my life. The first one I got when I graduated with my MBA, and my parents gave it to me. It was a box. It sat on the countertop. And it worked, but it didn't spin around. It didn't, it was like on or off. And it was back in the day when everybody thought you could cook a whole meal at once in a microwave. And so there were a lot of problems with it. It was very, very basic, but very, very expensive. Then when I built my house back in 2000, I got a new microwave, and it is above the stove and is both the microwave and it's also the fan and the vent to take out any kind of smoke or fumes or whatever from the stove that's below it. So it's really two appliances in one. But this two appliances in one actually costs less than my original microwave did. So not only did the price go down, but then when you factor in inflation, oh my goodness, that really puts pressure on profits then. Now this new microwave does all kinds of things. Like one of the greatest inventions of the last century, of course, was the popcorn button and the baked potato button. And there's also a button called chicken pieces. I've never used that button. I don't know what chicken pieces are, but it's there. And then probably my favorite is there's a message button. And I can hit that message button and say, hey kids, I'm going to the store, I'll be back in a half hour. And instead of having the time on the clock, then it'll just say message, message, message. They can hit the message button and listen to my voice say, I'm going to be back in a little bit. So that's pretty exciting. Now, that was 20 years ago when I built my house. The microwaves today probably do the dishes and everything, maybe even vacuum the floor. So you can see how profits can get squeezed when you have lots of competitors and you're adding on these expensive bells and whistles at the same time. So profits are really, really squeezed in that maturity time period. And for a lot of people, if they want one, they have one. And then it's just going to be replacements after that. Like, if you want a smartphone, you probably have a smartphone by now. And the only ones they're selling are the replacements for ones that are broken or end up in the toilet or whatever. All right, then we get to decline, and decline can happen pretty fast. A lot of times there's something new that's invented, or people lose interest in the product. It goes out of style, out of fashion, whatever. And so decline would be like, they still sell a few typewriters, but by and large, most of us are using PCs or Apples, and we're not using typewriters anymore. There are a few people who still want a typewriter, but not very many. So what happens there is rapidly our sales and our profits will decline. So that's your product life cycle in a nutshell, and we'll be back with Learning Objective 2 in just a moment.